What's good? How y'all doing? We back with the Workman podcast. What's up, Chris?
What it do, baby? What it do? What it do?
Hey man, it's a beautiful day, man. We about to get into it. We about to give them some good knowledge real quick on these interview tips and common interview questions. That way, when you go to the job, you already in there. You already ain't gotta worry about nothing. You feel me?
Right. Man, it's a real strategy, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a real thought process that has to go into once you actually go in and get that interview. That's step one, get the interview. Boom, that's the whole
Exactly.
section that you gotta hit. You know?
Yeah, interviewing is really like it's a skill set. It's not just something that you just go into blindly. Like that's something that you gotta practice at and really develop skills in. Like, it's really like a different, like a sport on some stuff for real.
Like you gotta put like pre-plan, it's like pre-game, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
game. You know what I'm saying? You've been practicing, you've been applying, you know what I'm saying? You've been applying these different jobs. Boom, now you got an interview. Now it's like, okay, now I'm about to go into my first game. What do I need to do to make sure that, we on top, we one leg up over the team, over the next team. Next team is
Exactly.
this company. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta do research. You gotta, look into their habits, what they do, everything like that. So thinking about it like that, trying to translate that now from sports to workplaces, it's the same thing.
Exactly, bro. So let's get right into it, bro. So first things first, like and subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars. That way we can get, our ranking up in the algorithm. Also, if you get some value from this, share it with a friend. First thing first, we're going to jump into 5 need to knows. So this is basically going to be the 5 things that are the most important going into the interview as far as preparing and, presenting yourself in a professional and, highlight. That way you can, stand out from the rest of the competition and other candidates. If you got to this stage, they already like you. The thing that's going to take you to the next step is setting yourself apart, in your introduction and also through the way that you answer these questions. So the very first thing on the list is the interview starts as soon as you give them the resume. So from that point on, you are in the interview phase, already be in the mindset that you got the interview and that, every person that you interact with is interviewing you because you never know when that person might go back and say, oh yeah, during the resume process, they said this, so as soon as you hand your resume to somebody, you being interviewed. They could tell anybody anything about you. So just already, have that in the back of your head.
And that even goes for like, even if you're handing your resume to somebody like a job fair or whatever, even if it's online, right? Because you never know, you might submit that resume and then boom, the recruiter hits you back and say, "Oh, all your qualifications look exactly what we're looking for. Can you set up a phone interview?" You know, people,
Like that quick.
like really that quick, really that
Yeah.
quick. Like just for example, I was looking through LinkedIn and stuff, and I saw a job role for construction right now, and I thought of somebody. I thought of Don, and I was like, it's for a career rotational program. And they just came out of school, and everything that they were offering, right, and if they were looking for, basically was what he was going to be able to provide. So I sent it to him, and he said, when I saw him yesterday, he was like, "Yeah, man. Like as soon as when you sent it to me, I submitted my info, and then like the next day or 2 days later, they hit my email saying they want to do
That's
it."
crazy. Hey
Exactly.
man, with all the virtual stuff, like it's getting a lot quicker the interview process because people are getting way more familiar with the softwares and like they're getting used to doing things virtually and quick, processing. And then they even have like these programs now to where if your resume is in like a certain format or doesn't have like certain keywords in it, it automatically like kicks it out of the whole program. That way
Really?
that way it only has like the few that has that certain word or that certain skill in it. It's crazy the way that
And
they got the AI like, calculating it.
yeah, and even with that, even when you do have, and when you have it set up right, it's actually beneficial because when you do have it set up, the software will then take whatever's on your resume once you upload it. Because sometimes some companies have an option to autofill with resume, and so
Yep.
once you upload your resume, it'll fill in all the work experience, the year, all that stuff. And then even go when
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to the skills, they even give you suggested skills what's inside of your resume. So you don't
Exactly.
have to even do anything. And then
And
really
then
from
it'll
there,
automatically match you based on the qualifications that's on the website for the job that you
for the
apply
job
for.
that you're applying for. Exactly. So having that format and having all that stuff, all those keywords and stuff in there that you want to describe yourself is gonna be key. It's gonna be super
Yep.
key. Super key.
But yeah, and even playing into that same narrative, I believe you was talking about this earlier. You were saying, as far as being on time and
Yeah.
being very diligent, alert, being on time, presentable, because nobody wants to waste their time. That's the most important thing in business. Time is money. People say that it's a phrase that people say all the time, and people get tired of hearing it, but that's really how life is, bro. If you could save a company time, then you are very valuable. You feel me? So
Exactly. When I go into meetings all the time, like the issues that come up, like what issues come up, let's say on the hardware during our production or anything like that, we have to then have a meeting, a review board meeting to assess the issue and what we need to do and what the path forward is, right? But people don't
mhm.
realize that's 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 time that we're taking out of everybody's time to come address this issue, which costs money. So that means the less issues we have, the more money we're gonna save. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So even regular meetings, all that stuff costs money. So you gotta start thinking about all the time that you're spending, the other time that other people are taking out to interview you as them, you know, as money, right? Because they're getting paid to do that.
It is.
So if you sitting there, you're late and you're not on time, you're not professional, you're not being punctual or anything like that, then you're just wasting their time, which means you're wasting their money.
Exactly. So that's number one. Number two, have a strong introduction. This is not necessarily an elevator pitch, which is good to have an elevator pitch, but sometimes in some settings, it comes off as inauthentic. So
Mm-hmm.
like not necessarily like you trying to, I guess, present yourself too professionally. Like actually show a little bit of personality when you first meet somebody, because nobody wants to work with somebody that's a robot, unless the role is just a task role and they just want somebody to just knock some out. But as far as most roles, they want somebody who is personable, that can walk around the office or pick up the phone and have a conversation with anybody. Nobody wants to be uncomfortable on the phone when you call in and they're like, I don't even know how to interact with this person. So show them that you have the ability to hold small talk, but still like have it in a professional way. Find little common interests. It can be something sports related, things that people don't have a lot of controversy with, like common grounds. Don't go in there talking about politics or something like that.
Right,
like
right,
like
right.
keep it very not like surface level, but like a little bit past surface level.
Right. Yeah, basically, but show your personality, and
Exactly.
it's like 'cause the first thing that they're going to ask you is, okay, I got your resume. Tell me about yourself. Tell me something about
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you. Then you can say, well, originally I'm from New Orleans. I'm self-driven. I like to take initiatives on all different types of tasks. I'm very versatile. I'm willing and able to learn in any environment that I'm put in. As long as I'm given the time to learn whatever system is in place, I'm pretty sure I can get whatever job that's needed done. So things like that, like being able to show your personality, like I
Exactly.
know I can do anything I put my mind to, but you have to be able to articulate that to the interviewer, right? So that's going to be key. And then as the conversation goes along, you can throw in little tidbits. And yeah, I also play baseball for Tuskegee University. I'm a pitcher, so I always like to dominate everything. I like to be in control of, you know, I like to be able to dominate the field that I'm playing in. It's something like, something that falls along those lines for real. That can
Mm-hmm.
show that you're versatile and you do different things and not just, hey, how you doing? It's my GPA. Give me a job. Like it got to be more than that. So
Exactly. Yep. And then playing off of that, number three, be positive and be yourself.
yeah. Oh,
So basically what that means, don't whenever they say, why do you want to work here, or what made you, apply here, what happened at your last job, why you leaving this place, do not talk negatively about the last place that you were at, because they're gonna automatically think that when you get in this new situation, you're gonna find the negative in it.
Yep.
And you're not going to bring a positive attitude to the environment of the workplace. Don't ever talk down on anybody that you ever work with or any place that you've been at, you know, or even people that's unrelated to work. Like, just don't talk negative at all during the interview, because nobody wants to hear that. because they're going to assume that you that guy when it's like, what's up, man? How you doing? Oh, just another day, just making it. Like, nobody wants that energy. You feel me?
Right.
Like,
Like,
bring a spark to the interview. You feel me?
hey, look, like sometimes even when I go into work and it's not my best day, they be like, hey, like, how you doing? How's your, how was your, how you doing today? I'm like, just another day in paradise. You know,
Exactly.
just another day in
Exactly.
paradise. So
Because
something
like I try to be very conscious of that, at work. Because some days you be off, and it's like, but even them days when I be off, I be like, it's a great day. Like, just telling myself that, tricking
like,
myself into thinking it. You feel me? Like, I'm like, bro, it be raining outside. It's a beautiful day, bro. I'm just like, it's a beautiful day. When people talk to me, they're like, bro, but you look like you having a beautiful day. It don't matter, but it's still a beautiful day.
a lot of
You
times I
feel
hear,
me?
look, I'm living and I'm breathing, so I'm glad to be here.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
It's
Like,
always a
hey,
good day.
bro,
I'm
I'm
breathing.
alive, so I can't be mad. I can't say that. But
Right.
nah, number 4. So it's going to get to a point in the interview where it's going to turn from you being interviewed to where you have the opportunity to flip the script and interview the company. But only a few people going to do this who are being interviewed. Like, out of the pool of people that they interview, there's only going to be like a select few, probably like 5%, that's going to have the confidence to actually ask the right questions to the interviewer. And they want you to ask them the questions. That's the whole point of them saying, so you got anything for me? Don't be like, no, you were very clear in everything that you said. I understand. No, be like, okay, so what's the company's goals moving forward in the next year? Or like, what's y'all plan for expansion? Is there any plans for expansion? What's the competition like?
Mm-hmm.
How are y'all, like, think about it from like a perspective as if, like, what if you was the CEO, but like not coming off as cocky, but coming off as like interested. Like, so like, where are we headed as a company? Like, you already in the company. Act like you already in it.
Right.
Like,
Where is that?
what's our plan moving forward now? You feel me?
Right. Exactly. Like, what are we gonna do to make this thing better? And that's honestly one thing I wish I think I would have did better when I was doing interviews in college. I did pretty well. I answered all the questions. It was clear and concise. I did have a few questions, but most times it was about how I even asked how, okay, well, from what you seen from the interview, what is there anything that I can work on? Um, for the interview process moving forward, right? So even if you're asking questions about yourself, like, 'cause I think
Right.
some people are
Because
afraid to
that
ask
shows
questions
that
about
you
themselves.
that you self-aware and you willing to take, feedback. And that's
Right.
good too. Like, questions like that, good. I would say maybe one question like that, and then
Mm.
another question like, interested in the company. Because one thing I did do in the company I worked for, which I think like kind of, because I kind of see in his face, like when I asked, he was like, whoa, like what? I was like, what makes y'all, you know, different than all the other,
All in
companies that's like y'all? Like, what make y'all stand out? Like, what's y'all, like,
what's your
you feel me?
yeah, like what's
And
your
then he
new
was like, whoa, like, yeah. He had to think. He was like, dang, bro, like, I gotta sell him on the company. Like, shit.
like, you want me, so you gotta
I
say
done flip the script on him. So like,
right.
sometimes you gotta flip the script, bro.
And see, now going through it now I know less questions to ask now, because even now in the workplace when I'm interacting with people from different functions, I'm learning to ask new questions and stuff like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what has been your experience in the company? You've been in this company this long. Have you seen it progress? You
Mm-hmm.
work for several different companies. I know people that work for my company, left, came back. Okay, when you came back, did you see a change? Stuff like that. Like, so you can
Exactly.
continue to ask these questions even after you get inside of the company, because guess what? That's how you build a network of people, and people actually um, they remember you for asking those questions.
They do. They
Because not
do.
everybody gonna ask them their questions. I'll ask them those questions. You know, and believe it or
Exactly.
not, especially for I believe for more technical roles, roles in general, like we're so used to going about our day to day on at work that we don't really talk about our jobs a lot. So when people come and ask, especially new people that don't really know, that gives them the opportunity to actually explain what I do on a day to day because nobody sits there and asks me for real. So
Exactly.
being asking questions is going to be key, for real.
Yeah, I think that's probably like I ain't gonna say it's the most important, but
It's up there.
that's it's needed. It's like you have to do that. You have to ask a question. Like on every interview where I didn't ask a question at the end, I never got like a second interview or a second, or another step. But on every single one where I asked a good question, I always had a follow up
Mm,
or got an offer from it. And it's
mm,
like they really want curious people in their company.
right.
You
Because it
know,
shows you interest. Like I want somebody that's interested in this company. So why would I
right?
give somebody a chance that's just trying to go through You got to realize there's been thousands and thousands, hundreds and thousands of people that go through this cycling process all the time. If I'm a hiring manager, think about how many emails and job fairs and things that I have to go to and the cycle of all these people going through the same process. So I'm looking for somebody that's going to stand out. And the way to stand out is to ask questions.
Mm, yes, sir.
Everybody like
But yeah,
that. It's kind of cool.
number 5, the magic 5, follow up. So I'm not going to say this applies to every single interview, but at least on the companies that you really really want to work for, I would say follow up, maybe a week after, or if they tell you ask them what's a good time to follow up. Most interviews is just gonna give you like, yeah, in a few days, we're gonna hit you back in a few days, just follow up and let us know, that way, you're not sitting waiting on the company that you really want to work for, and you missing opportunities for other companies that like might like you, but you don't necessarily want to go there, but always like that place where you want to go, like check in with them and see if that's still on the table. Because if it is, then you can wait it out. But if you just waiting and they already done picked the person that they wanted, now you a sitting duck and you missing opportunities that that's passing you by that you could have been taking.
Right.
So yeah, I think following up is a good one for
And
at least the companies that you really want to go to.
yeah, like get a business card, ask for an email, phone number, anything. And guess what? Like even if like for a job fair or sometimes the person that you initially interact with um may not be the same person that you interview with. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure that if you talk, somebody calls you on the phone or emails you
Save
or
all them numbers.
get all the numbers and all the contacts and actually like say,
Star those emails, star them, save them, and save them numbers.
yep,
And make sure like when it say last first and last name and then company, just put the company, because sometimes you might save the name and then it might be 2 weeks later you're like, dang, what was the name? You don't even know what to search. So
right.
make sure you put the company name on the contact because you're
And
gonna remember the company.
And a lot of times when it comes to it, like especially when you're applying in different areas, like a recruiter might hit you and say, "Hey, I think you're good for this job." Okay, let me save your name and your info so I can put you as a referral
Exactly.
on the app. Like, yeah, this is the
Exactly.
recruiter that contacted me. So all that plays a part. Because then they can go back to that recruiter and say, "Hey, did you talk to this person? Yeah, I talked to him. He was cool. So this, that, and the third." That's kind of how things work. So just save everything, man. It's going to help you along.
Yep. But now we're moving into phase 2, which is common interview questions, the top 5 most asked interview questions. Which one you think number 1, bro? Just off the top of your head.
I think it's, can you tell me about yourself?
Exactly.
Like I just said,
Exactly.
like tell me about yourself. Like tell me something
What would
about
you what would you say if somebody said, "Can you tell me about yourself?"
somebody said. If somebody said that, I would say I'm a self. Like I was saying before, I'm a self-driven individual. I collaborate. I know how to effectively collaborate with any and everybody um, across different functions. I am a very personal person. I'm great at communicating. Um, what else would I say? Now you put me on the spot. Shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's what I'm saying.
right.
It seems so easy, but it really is
It's
kind of difficult.
kind
You
of
know, that's
difficult.
why I like to think about it like in a systematic way. You know, not rigid, not like a rigid system, but kind of just like a order of operation, just a little guideline, something to, like
Mhm.
stepping stones that you use. So like the first step would just be like, what do you do? What are your skills? And like, how did you get there? So it's basically, what do you do? So mechanical engineer, you know, skilled at project management, leadership, team building, and collaborative activities. Also very interested in, you know, blah, 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 whatever your skill, your specific skill is. And then you say, how did you get here? So the reason, you know, how I developed this skill is from, you know, being the captain of a baseball team, also leading different engineering projects in my college experience. Also, I've been a part of different programs when I was younger, you know, at universities where I worked with other students across the entire city, and we collaborated on making this, you know, whatever y'all made, something like that. So this is just an example. And so that's the what and the how. And then you say, why are you passionate about, you know, what you do? So you like, I love engineering because it gives me the opportunity to make a difference in the world. And if you interviewing with a specific type of company, I would like to try to intertwine that why with the
Mhm.
specific industry that you're talking to. So say if it's the chemical industry, you'd be like, I love chemicals because it's a way to solve problems using, you know, the chemical process to, you know, clean different materials, clean drinking water. And you know, you can use that water to, you know, help the people who are dying of thirst, you know, across the world, or something like tie it into some type of emotion. That way they see that you passionate about what you're doing. You feel
Right.
me?
You know, like you said, you don't want to be a robot about it, so don't just come up like with a pitch, right? Because now you're trying to
Right.
remember, so really
Like
come up with
stir
something.
those emotions up, like get make them feel you.
Right. Just like I could say, you know, I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm really skilled at trend analysis, data analytics, being collaborative and working across different teams, and
Mm-hmm.
then being able to effectively communicate goals across with different people to get to the end goal. Um, and uh, I am effectively pursuing. I have been effectively pursuing engineering because I love the innovation side of engineering and having the ability to critically think to solve problems
Exactly.
or stuff like that. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do. I like to solve problems. You know, I like to bring people together to come to a common goal to solve problems and solve an issue.
Exactly.
You know, big or small.
And like when you put stuff in steps like that, it automatically triggers in people's brain and they're able to remember it better because you
Mm-hmm.
basically told them a story with chapters. So
Mm-hmm.
they already stacking it in their mind like that. But if you going all over the place, like you telling them how you got there in the beginning, then you saying a little bit about the why, then you saying what you good at, then you go back to how, and then you go back to the past, and they like, where are we going? I don't understand. You gotta make it simple for everybody because the human brain in this day and age is only getting less and less attentive. So the clearer and more concise you can be, the better that you're gonna be at interviewing. So
Right.
yeah.
And then another one really is going to be behavioral basic like questions.
Yep.
So, you know, what was the task? Oh, sorry, what was the situation? What was the task? What was the action? What was the result? So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of behavioral questions are going to be, you know, tell me a time when you collaborate and there was an issue amongst the team,
That's
or
their favorite one to ask, bro.
yeah, it's like tell me a time
That's
where
their favorite one, bro. Cause they want to
and
see if you're gonna speak negatively about somebody or something. They like
right,
it's like a bait question, and a lot of people fall for the bait
like
when
yeah,
they
he
say,
just
"What
want
was
to
a
do his
time
job.
that you?"
Stop.
Yeah, and they
Like,
also want to see if you're gonna, be humble about it, or you gonna be cocky and like overzealous about it? Like, I did this. This is what I did, or instead of you really taking them from situation to task and being like, well, the situation was we were working on a project, in the group. The task was for us to perform this analysis. A couple people on the team, we had different, perspectives on it, and I was just like, guys, I think we all have good points. How about we just write down, what's the pros and cons of each one, and that way we can, have a fair discussion about it. That way nobody, feels any type of way once we make a decision. Boom, we all wrote them down, and as a group, we came to the consensus that the part A was the best method to perform the analysis. So as a group, we were able to move forward, and everybody was happy because everybody had their voice heard, something like that. But it's not like you really saying like, I did this, I said we need to do this, and that's the right way we need to do it. It's like, no, we all came together. I just led us to come together and think about it.
Right. So always being able to show that initiative, leadership, like that's one thing I tell people, like when it comes to interviewing and also when it comes to putting information on the resume, always show innovation, always show initiative, leadership, being a team player, like because that's gonna play a part because you may be in a leadership role, but you still just because you're in a leadership role, don't mean everybody listen to you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You could be a leader from the middle of the pack. You can lead from the middle.
You can lead from the back if you want to.
You can lead from the back.
Yeah, people don't know wolf packs to really be in the back of the wolf pack.
Right.
They stay together.
They have a leader in the front and a leader in the back. Because you need a leader a leader in the front, the middle, and the back, honestly. Because if you don't have a leader in the back, then everybody in the back is gonna be like, man, look at them in the front, like what they doing up there, like who they think they is, blah blah. You're gonna get all that. So it's like it's always good to have somebody in the back who's willing to accept that role of being a supporter. Ain't nothing wrong with being a supporter for even if for a temporary amount of time. Some people like being supporters for all their life. Some people don't like to be in the spotlight. You feel me? But you can still get that recognition from the back. It's not always bad to be in the back.
Exactly. Like being supportive does not mean that you're like weak or you're less than anything else. You gotta realize
if anything, you're stronger.
It's a really a hierarchy. So why do you think there's program managers and then there's area managers and then there's supervisors and then there's leads amongst the team? Like because everybody plays the role. Everybody has to play that role, whether it be supporting the lead, and the lead is then responsible for supporting the program management, whatever. But it's all
I ain't gonna cap, bro. We giving way too much game right now.
You said we're giving too much game. Man.
This need to be paid for. I ain't gonna even lie.
That's what we here for.
But we gonna give it to them for free though. Yeah. But I'm just saying, a game that what you just was talking about, like the last 3-4 minutes that we were just talking about, people ain't talking about that.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
Number 3.
That's the inside. That's the inside now.
Yeah, that's like one of them. Yeah. So you can't Google that one. Right. But why should we hire you? How you feel about that question?
I mean, I feel like it's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Like, how should we? Yeah, I feel like it is, but it's like a lot of people don't even expect. Some people don't even expect to get that.
I don't know why should we?
Because sometimes it's like it's almost so obvious that you would think that they wouldn't even ask it, but they be asking that.
Oh yeah, I got asked that plenty of times. Why should we hire you? Damn. About that
one. I ain't think about that one. So like, how would you answer that? Like, I feel like I would answer that as far as like in a systematic approach. Again, being humble but being effective at the same time, and also showing your value, in a non-cocky way. Really highlight your skills again, because I feel like that's always very important. Like what makes you stand out, your skill set. Highlight your work ethic. I think companies love people who are continuous learners. people who are willing to take the next step, make sure that procedures and policies are being followed. If you're in a company where safety is very high as a priority, if you already did your background research, make sure that you highlight that on why we should hire you, because my morals and the way that I go about my work align with the company values. So I feel like I would fit in with the system, because every company has a system that they built to make sure that everybody who comes in already has something that they can look at and they can mold themselves into. So if you already in that mold before you get to the company, you are automatically pushed up,
Right.
because they don't want to have to form somebody. If they already got somebody who's formed and they have skills, just put them in the system. He gonna do great. He or
Exactly.
she.
That's why when it comes, especially when you're fresh out of school, I always emphasize my ability to work well with teams and also to take initiative. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say take initiative, that doesn't mean play the boss. It's like, okay, well, when things are happening and somebody needs to take charge of a task, I'm willing to take charge of that task and own it. So they want to see ownership of and responsibility um, for things because they know a lot of things can get hectic in the workplace. Stuff might just come up and need somebody to handle it. So are you going to be that person to handle that task when the fire come up? Are you going to be able to go put it out? Or at least lead a team of people to go put it out? You know what I'm saying? So that means a lot. That means you have to be quick on your feet. You have to be quick on your feet. You know, with thinking, you have to critically think. So I always
Yep.
emphasize the critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, initiative, teamwork, leadership. You know, that's what I always go to. And then I
I
always
think
come
those are
back
key.
and then I reach back into maybe some experiences. Yeah, that's one thing I've learned from playing baseball majority of my life, being a part of community relations, being a part of community organizations, allowed me to learn how to collaborate with a whole lot of different people, a versatile group of people, and be able to bring them together. And I feel like that I can do that within the company as well, and achieve whatever goals, whatever tasks are in place for that day or for that project. So I feel like that's something that you can really tap into if you feel like you. Because for me, it was like coming out of school, it's kind of hard to like identify, like, yeah, I can provide this, that, third, because you're still figuring it out. I'm still figuring it
Right.
out. So I was like, I knew what I knew how to do, like, with socializing people, bring people together, say, hey, you want to go study? You want to go study? Hey, you want to go study? Yeah, I'm having trouble. And I know we all having trouble. Let's go study and go conquer this test together. So I know that's a skill that I had to be able to bring people together to
Yep.
accomplish common goals. So I always emphasize that. And that's
One
one
of
of the
one of
main
the hardest things for somebody to do is being able to lead from across. If
yeah,
you're able to lead across, that's a very strong skill that a lot of people can't do, because usually only people only follow somebody either out of fear or out of them, giving them a reward. So if you leading from across, you don't have either of those things working for you, because nobody's fearing you because you're on the same level as them. And nobody's looking for you to reward them because there's nothing that you really can give,
right,
honestly, other than your time, and your expertise. Like, you
right.
can't give them any compensation or anything or a promotion. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to inspire people from across, then I think that that's probably one of the most valuable things you could have.
Right. And you just have to learn how to take those type of skills out of every experience. So don't downplay the experience that you've already had. Sometimes it may take a little bit of digging. As a gym in there, you just got to dig it out and figure out what skills you actually learned and acquired going through wherever you're working at or whatever experiences that you've had. You know,
Yep.
and if you haven't, then that just means that you need to start doing it. You need to start tapping in and start making sure that you pay attention to those things. That way, when the next opportunity rolls around, you have something to speak to. Because you got to be always have something to speak to. If nothing, be able to speak strongly about yourself and what you're able to provide, you know, to whatever position that you're applying. Whether it be entry level position or it can be a lead position somewhere. And you want 100K for it, you asking for 100K, that's 150K role. Just go into that owning that and knowing that you can handle it and be able to convey that strong, to whoever you're talking to that you're willing to bring to the company. And that's going to make the difference. A lot of people, even in those situations, can't do that because that's a special that's a special type of characteristic of trait that you have to be able to be confident in what you do, and then back it up with action. That's not easy to do.
It's not. It's not yet at all. Um, Next question. I want you to answer this one. So I'm gonna give you a scenario. You are interviewing for a automotive manufacturer right now.
Okay.
Let's just say like Nissan or something.
All right.
Why do you want to work here?
I really want to work at Nissan because, well, I drive a Nissan every day. The car's very,
You stupid.
no, for real, the car is very efficient. Out of most of the cars, I feel like, especially the economy cars, and they stretch across a lot of different models, which can attract different customers. So I like the versatility. Um, and honestly, being a mechanical engineer, I would be very interested in working on the engines, as well as the framework for the car. Because growing up, I actually had to do work on my own car myself. So being in a role with a company like Nissan, I feel like I'll be able to build those skills, not just for the company, but for myself.
Okay, that's an interesting answer. See, you mind if I critique?
Yeah, go ahead, critique. Okay.
Yeah, I always ask first. I think it's going to bring a lot of value to the audience. I really like your answer, but I think I would have did it a little differently because instead of me saying how can I do what I think the company would do for me, I would say what I feel like I can keep going for the company.
Right.
What type of value I would bring to you, because I feel like the answer that you gave, that's the answer that a lot of people give because they think that for that question, they said, why should we hire you? So for this specific time, they want to know what can you do for us? Right. That's basically what they're saying in a professional way.
Right. Right. Yeah. You put me on the spot with an on-spot interview real quick. That was a good one. I like that.
Hold on. Yeah, Siri started listening to me for some reason. Could you hear me? Because I couldn't hear myself.
Yeah, I can hear you. She was trying to drive. Right. Damn, she was throwing out.
All right, she was like, "Wait, hold up, don't be doing it." But nah. So like, when a company asks you that, they really asking you like, "What can you do for me?" So what I would be like, so I understand Nissan. You guys focus on reliability, getting your customer from point A to point B safely, consistently, and I feel like I fit that mold perfectly because I align with those values. I'm very strong with safety. I'm good in a team environment. I understand the importance of the assignment and getting things done on a timeline because we have to meet production needs. I'm very aware of management and all of that. Like just like make sure that you understand the structure and like everything that they need in the stuff that they gotta, that they supervise is looking for them to deliver. Do you understand that?
Right. And I think most times I usually would, but it was kind of on the spot, so I was like,
right. Right. You ain't have no time. I mean, that was kind of unfair for me to do, but I really just wanted to do it because it was good to add value. Yeah.
That was really a like based on that was really an answer that people usually give. So it was good to see that and critique because that way, like that's knowledge for me too. Just thinking about it because if I'm thinking about that unconsciously, how being on the spot, I might going through the interview, you never know what can happen. You get jittery, you can get nervous.
Exactly. In the moment, like your emotions, like you start,
right.
Sometimes you get off of your plan.
Right.
Because like in the beginning, you might be like, I'm focused on making sure they understand what I bring to the table for them. And then like, as you get through the interview, you might start getting a little nervous. You might forget the whole game plan,
Oh yeah, that's happened plenty of times. Like,
sometimes it happened, because like you might stumble on one question and like now it's like a domino effect, throughout the rest of the interview. And it's like, bro, that kind of went rough.
Think about that one question. Yeah, you think about, damn. and then but you're thinking about it during the interview, and so that kind of
Exactly.
you up. That's happened to me a lot of times. A lot of times. So I mean, when it happens, I mean, it's natural you have to roll with it, but you want to be as prepared as possible. I'm not saying you're going to the interview, you're gonna be perfect, spick and span, but you want to be able to be as consistent as possible with the things that you're saying and how you're going to conduct this interview, because that's what they're going
Yep.
to look at too, the consistency. Are you able to give me the information consistently and concisely throughout this interview? Because and it's about the confidence that you have when you speak on it too. You know, so I feel like all that plays a part too.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. But all right, so last question. I think this is probably the most screwed up question that interviewees answer incorrectly. And this one is, what are your weaknesses? Or what is your biggest weakness? 90% of people are gonna say I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah, most people are, and I've had that
Do
question.
not say that.
Yeah, don't say that. That's another.
Do not say that.
Now you don't seem like, oh, you think you're perfect.
Right. All right, bet.
Oh, okay, all right. Nope, the resume already out.
Sometimes I want to be too perfect. It's hard for me to, move forward with it because I want it to be, no, nobody wants to hear that.
Right, right.
I'd rather you say that sometimes you work too fast than you say you want to be too perfect. I'd rather you say it the other way around. But don't even say that, don't. But
Right. How would you answer that?
I would say maybe some along the lines. I feel like something that's not as generic. I would say something that kind of like make them surprised. I'd be like, I would say like communication. I feel like my communication at times can be too concise or without enough detail because it's still the truth, but it's like you still highlighting something good about yourself because people do like people who are concise,
Right,
but they also at times do like when people have more detail. But they could live with somebody who's always trying to be concise and be clear. You feel me? But
right,
but it's not like you giving the perfectionist answer because that's just the one that they always give. It's
right,
just like when I communicate, sometimes, you know, I lack a little detail. I realize it over the time and I'm working on improving it, because I always want to, be considerate of everybody's time and keep things clear and concise, that
right.
way, we can move, diligently through the project because I know everybody has they tasks that they have to do and I want to, value everybody's time or something like that.
And then on the flip side, you can say, hey, sometimes I give too much detail.
Exactly.
Sometimes I
Something
give,
like that.
and but depending on the job you're going for, they might need somebody with a lot of detail.
Exactly.
You know, and that's something that I'm working on. We're going to be more concise with, with either be my presentations or the
Yep.
information I put on slides presentation. I'm
Yeah.
working on.
Always say what you're doing to work on it.
Right,
Either way of the coin. If you too concise, always explain like how you working on getting your details in. So like now before I send the email, I'll look at it and break it down and see how can I, make sure I highlight the key steps on it now. I put the bullet points of what's the key steps on in detail now, I still keep it clear, but I also put the detail, something like that. Or if you too detailed, you say, oh, I read the entire scope and I break it down as small as I can while still keeping the highlighted information in it or something like that.
right, right, exactly. Yeah, but don't say that you don't have any weaknesses or you're perfect or anything.
Don't say that. Yeah, don't say you don't
You
have any.
always, because everybody has weaknesses, nobody's perfect, and we all know.
Exactly.
Even if even when it comes to what it means as well, sometimes I can be passive aggressive. When it comes to my leadership, sometimes I'm working on taking more initiative when certain tasks come up. I take the lead by offering up volunteering for a little role, something like that. Just trying to expose myself a little bit more. So stuff like that is what you want to see. Like Elgin said, being able to highlight those things, but also show how you're working on it and not just saying, yeah, it's what I suck at and it's what it is. You never want to do that because it's like, okay, you say you suck at that, you're not good at that, bro. I mean, you're not working on it, so I mean, why would I want somebody that's not working on your weaknesses? You know,
Exactly. Always say what you're doing to work on it.
right.
After you make it clear that you understand that you do have a weakness and that you accept that that's your weakness, but you're not accepting it as forever a weakness. You know,
Yeah, your job
that's
is
all I got though. I think that was some heat. That was
I think it was enough hot fire for the day.
that can get somebody a job.
Oh, yeah, there's those things right there that could definitely get somebody a job. Once you get the interview, that's really where you make the stamp. It's in the interview. It ain't getting off. It ain't getting into it. It's not getting the interview. It's inside the interview. That's when you really. That's when you stamp it, and that's when if you can walk out of the interview with like chest up, hell high, like yeah, I did that, and more times than not, you're gonna end up hearing back or following, getting a follow from following understanding. Honestly,
One closing analogy I do want to make, like I just thought of this like just now. Think of interviewing as like you dancing. Like act like he said, hold up. I'm thinking you're gonna be like, oh yeah, but you like, hold up, where you going with this? Like, think about it as the person who's interviewing you at the beginning, they're leading the dance. You know, you just y'all waltzing, you feel me? You waiting on them, boom, they ask the first question, y'all go like this, boom, boom, you feel me? But then at a certain point, in the interview, you might hit them with the spin, you feel me? Hit them with but like it's still smooth, but you hit them with the spin. And that's the point of the interview when it's like, so like, why should we hire you? And then you hit them with the spin and it's like, boom, yeah, you should hire me because I could do this. You did like I could. It's like you wait for your moment to shine. Don't try to like do too much, off the bat. Like, be fluent and like flow with the interview. Make everything is like at like water, like dancing smooth. You dig? So, yeah.
and I thought about this again as well. I thought about this, thinking about that. Like we talking about flowing with the interview, flowing with the conversation. Just because they ask you a question doesn't mean you have to answer it as soon as they say
That's
you
a that's a key too.
that you can sit there and process it because guess what? It's just y'all two in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And no, especially I'm telling you, especially kids come out of school, they know y'all. You don't know too much. You know what I'm saying? They know as far, especially with the interview process, maybe one of your first few interviews that you had. So when it comes to the questions that you're answering, be able to just take your time and come up and really think about your answer. Don't take too much time. You know, I say maybe like how much time do you usually give yourself to answer questions?
I would say some questions you answer right away, but the questions where it requires some thought, don't try to rush it. Like for the ones that like are make or break questions, and like they trying to either trip you up or like get you to say something off. That's the ones you go take about 2 to 3 seconds, not too long. That
Yeah,
way they're not like he really trying to conjure up an answer. It's like no, he just paused, gathered himself because he know this is an important question.
right,
You feel me? He
right.
know that this is a make or break question, and he understands that, and he's emotionally intelligent.
And guess what? If you don't understand the question, don't be afraid to ask them to rephrase it
Exactly.
because that's what they there for. They want you to answer the question in full. So don't be afraid to ask the question again. Oh, can you please rephrase? Can you please rephrase it? No, not rephrase it. Can you please repeat that question for me?
Mm-hmm.
Just ask them simply like that, because then that also gives you more time to actually process the answer.
Right.
Get
And it's
it?
like he wants to make sure that he understands it correctly and he's answering the right thing, and that translates to the job. If you're
Right.
unclear on a task, don't just go do the task because they told you to do it.
Right.
If you need to go back to the person who gave it to you, don't go back all like buku time. Don't go back all, don't annoy the people. But but sometimes if it's an important task and it's very detailed, nothing wrong with going back and ask for, verification.
Exactly. I feel like that's key. So I feel like either we jump too quick or we just
It's a
go.
balance.
it's a balance. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta feel it out. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that feeling when you're in the interview. Understand? Like you're gonna be able to feel the interview out. You know, once you're in that interview. So you know, that would mean that besides all that, bro, I think that's
Bro,
all
I ain't even gonna care, boy. If you watch this before you go take your interview, call me if you don't get the job because I want to know why. Because if you didn't get the job after watching this, that's a problem.
No, that's true. Like, I mean, this is all. This is just.
This is
us
everything you need.
Yo, exactly. This is just us speaking from experience. We done been through all of it. All that. We done been through all that. Ups and downs. We done had.
Bro, I had 8 interviews senior year.
Let me see.
8.
I had like 6. I had about 6, and that's not including the 2 on-site interviews at the Fly House.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So I had about 8 interviews altogether.
Yeah.
That was a lot. For sure.
So this is 16 interviews worth of knowledge, and just from my senior year. This not counting freshman and all the way to senior year. This is just for like we talking about full time right now.
Yep.
Full time right now, because the internship interviews is slightly different. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but it's slightly different nuances. But what we were speaking to just now was mainly full time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's probably where we got the most exposure was in the senior year. The senior year was something hectic. I'm talking about
that was different. It was a different type of interview.
It was different, man. And I'm talking about I was going back to my apartment tired.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need a break. Like it was crazy.
They really trying to make sure they investing in the right person because sometimes internships they like we just need the numbers. You know, we just need to get this many heads in for the internships from these types of schools, and you know, but like for full time, they're like, all right, like we don't necessarily need him if we don't like him, like we can get what we want. You know,
you got to be the person that we really want to be up in here and give a chance.
Right. Yeah, because they paying you a salary with bonuses potentially some stock or something like that, you know. So they're not just giving that to everybody. Nah.
And everywhere don't provide that either. So
nope.
You know, you might want to ask about that too, look into that.
Right.
Look into that too, because some people have it on their website, some people may not. But it's also a question for them because they should know because they're interviewing. So you can, that's a simple follow-up.
Yeah, that's a quick one. Yeah.
A quick one. You know.
I would say check the website first because you don't want to ask too many questions, and you might want to ask those other 2 questions that we spoke about earlier. And adding a third one might be a little bit much, but if you go on website before the interview, check that first. That way you ain't gotta ask it if you don't have to. You can save the other 2 question slots. I would say ask 2 questions max.
Yeah, 2 questions is good.
But bro, we giving too much. Let's go. I'm just kidding, bro. We ain't giving too much. We always got more to give, but I think that was enough to digest for now.
Kill the camera, bro. It's too hot up here. It's too hot up here.
But y'all have a good night. That's all we got. Love y'all. Contact us. Feel free to hit us on the YouTube. Hit us on the IG, Elgin Woodside _ Feel free to text me at 504-732-8799. Text HUSTLE. Or you can text whatever you want, but text HUSTLE and I got something for you, a free gift. So, yeah.
Right. And you can follow me on IG _millionaire Chris 24. And you can text HUSTLE. You can text play ball. You can text let's get it. You text anything you want to.
Anything.
But it's at 323-929-8960. That's where you can contact me at. That's my business phone. So, you know, just tap into us, man. Like we just out here doing it.
Yes, sir.
Love.
Have a good night.
Yes, sir.